This is Golf with Jay Delsing. A two-time college All-American at UCLA. A participant in nearly 700 PGA Tour events. 7 professional wins to his credit. Over 30 years of professional golf experience. A member of the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. This is Golf with Jay Delsing.
Hey, good morning. Golf with Jay Delsing here. I'm your host, Jay. I got Pearlie. Hang on a second. Author, caddy, college graduate. Let's see. A business owner, business seller. Let's see. I gotta make sure I do everything right. You caddied 100.
There's like a page and a half of stuff.
It is. I know, Pearl. I thought I saw you nodding off there. Were you falling asleep while I was going? No. Welcome. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Lots to talk about. I'll tell you, even in this kind of late time of the year, we sure are still getting some great golf.
Yeah, we absolutely are. We had the BMW finish with Shane Lowry winning. We had the Ascension Charity Classic with another Irishman, Padraig Harrington, winning, and kind of an exciting and dramatic back nine. And I got to MC the Ascension Celebrity Challenge with Lee Trevino, Nancy Lopez, Hale Irwin, the Chief, Craig Berube, the Wizard, Ozzie Smith, and the great Ryan O'Reilly, the captain of the St. Louis Blues. What a blast we had. We also had Ron Kay, who's the CEO of Stiefel, who was kind enough to donate, I don't know how much money, but somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 of his own money to the charity. So he played as a kind of wild card, really a fun guy, John, as a wild card. And he did a couple of mulligans in there for both teams, and he was great. It was really fun. Again, charity winds up winning.
That's fantastic. Well, you did a good job out there, and I want to hear a little bit when we get a chance to talk about how Nancy Lopez was looking and playing out there.
Well, let's just start. We've got a great interview with Mike Claiborne. Mike Claiborne is a current doing on assignment with the St. Louis Cardinals, but this is a guy that's been with the Blues. He's a broadcaster. He's a storyteller extraordinaire. He's a terrific guy. He's a great ambassador for St. Louis. He's also done Rams work when the Rams were here. There's nothing that he hasn't done. And is this guy connected from Charles Barkley to Michael Jordan to on and on and on. This guy to Cedric the Entertainer, who's actually a St. Louis guy. So Mike Claiborne is a character. He is a phenomenal representative of St. Louis and just a really good guy, fun guy to talk to.
I can tell you really enjoyed yourself, and he does have good stories, and I like his style a lot.
It's a very relaxed style, Pearl. It's laid back and just kind of lets it come to him. I really enjoyed it. We also have Andy Crow, who is our spotlight this week, and a really cool, interesting guy at the Country Club of St. Albans, who's the general manager at this point, but he wears a lot of different hats and a very interesting guy. But let's talk about this celebrity challenge, the shootout at Ascension. It happened on Saturday. We let the lead group, which was how's this for a lead group? Bernard Langer, Patty Harrington, Ernie Els. How's that for star-studded leaderboard? I mean,
pretty stout, and 3 actually very different players. It was fun to watch the difference of the games and the different stages the games are in, and I can't wait to talk about Padraig Harrington's power. My gosh, can that guy
ridiculous
club head speed and absolutely compress that golf ball. Very, very, very impressive.
Well, we can start there. I mean, Padraig has picked up at least 30 yards, and he is working his butt off on speed training. You can see he is swinging the club fast. Even his practice swings, I'm like, damn. He was pushing air and moving dirt and all sorts of stuff with those practice swings. He was phenomenal. But anyway, so we let that leader group clear and give them about 2 or 3 holes. And then we had the teams were Nancy Lopez, Ozzie Smith, and Craig Berube, and they were representing PGA Reach, which was awesome. And then on the other side of the fence, we had Ryan O'Reilly, Hale Irwin, and Lee Trevino, and they were representing the first tee of St. Louis. So first of all, no one lost. Each group started with something like $8,500 in the bank. Ron was throwing $10,000 shots all over the place. I'm like, Ron, I'm going to help you spend some of your money. He goes, come on, let's do it. He's like, an extra $10,000 for closest to the pin on this par 3 as long as you make the putt. And that was the very first hole we played, Pearl. So I got to tell you, Ryan O'Reilly and Craig Berube stuffed it in on number 10 on the West course. Ryan O'Reilly hit a 9-iron from 165 yards to about 11 feet or so right behind the flagstick. And the Chief hit this little bitty fade left of the flag to about 7 feet. Right out of the hopper. And
Nice.
We had a great crowd, John. We had several hundred people following us around. So it was really something special. I'll be dang if it didn't take Ron Kay to knock in a mulligan for the team at the first tee for Trevino, Irwin, and Ryan O'Reilly. So they got their birdie. And then who stepped up first? The Chief, Craig Berube, hit his iron shot in there, and he knocked the putt in. And off they roll with 2 twos on number 10.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's fun when the guys play good, they can relax, and makes it that much more fun for everybody.
Bro, that's going to wrap up the On the Range segment. I didn't even say this was the On the Range segment. It's brought to you by the Gateway section of the PGA, and we appreciate all those men and women. We also still have our golf ball contest. Send me an email, jay@jdelsinggolf.com. Put balls in the subject matter, balls in there somewhere, and I will enter your name in the drawing to win some new TP5 golf balls, compliments of our buddy Jeff Thornhill at TaylorMade Golf. We're tipping our cap, John, and our tip of the cap is brought to you by the Dean Team, Volkswagen of Kirkwood, 314-966-0303. I brought this up last week, John. I was so compelled and so overwhelmed by the generosity, the support, the attitude of our volunteers at Norwood for the duration of that tournament, Monday through Sunday, 900 people showing up, donating their time, buying uniforms on time, smile on their face, all because they love St. Louis, they love the game, and they want to make a difference. We couldn't do it without them, and it's just spectacular that they showed up the way they did. John, that's going to wrap up the On the Range segment. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back with the front nine and our interview with Mike Claiborne. This is Golf with Jay Delsing.
On the Range is presented by the Gateway section of the PGA. Find out more at PGA.com.
I want to officially welcome Daugherty Business Solutions as the new title sponsor of this show. So who are they? Well, first of all, they've been headquartered in St. Louis for the last 37 years. They're the number one largest IT consulting firm per the St. Louis Business Journal. They're also the number one largest software development company per the St. Louis Business Journal. They were voted number one top workplace in St. Louis for large companies. There's over 2,500 teammates in 30 states and in 3 countries. There are 11 Daugherty regional development hubs in and around the world. If you live and or work in the St. Louis area, chances are that through their business or their extensive community work, Daugherty Business Solutions has done something positive near you. Check us out at Daugherty.com. That's DAUGHERTY.com. Folks, do you need a new car, truck, or SUV? Then the Dean Team of Kirkwood is the place for you to go. 314-966-0303 and go see Colin Byrne. He just got me into a new SUV and I love it. Boy, did they make the experience painless and super, super easy. Most dealers don't have any cars in their lots, but at Dean Team of Kirkwood, Colin has an entire parking lot full of new and used cars. You don't want a VW? That's no problem. They have Audis, BMWs, Mercedes, anything you want. Colin and the Dean Team of Kirkwood will go get it if they don't have it. Call them at 314-966-0303 or go to DeanTeamVWKirkwood.com. The Dean Team, for all your car buying needs. Good morning, this is Golf with Jay Delsing, and welcome to the Gateway PGA Spotlight. I'm visiting with Andy Crow from St. Albans. Andy, good morning.
Good morning, Jay. How are you doing this morning?
Just great. Thanks so much for joining us. So I understand that you have been nominated the Bill Strasberg Award this year, PGA Professional Development Award. Tell us a little bit. First of all, congratulations. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world out at St. Albans.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I always humbled to be considered for any of the awards that the PGA does. I mean, I'm sure as connected as you are, you're aware Nathan Carnes and his bid to be the national secretary for the PGA of America, and I think be the first Gateway section member to end up in a national board position, which would make all of us as golf professionals very proud. But I got thrust into more of a management role pretty early on in my career. I was what they I consider a blue blood golf pro. Owned a golf shop and ran a very active club down in Florida, and GM left in the middle of a renovation, and I got thrust into it and figured out pretty quickly that I needed to learn more. So I've kind of made it a career goal of mine just to stay educated and continuing to grow from an education standpoint. So I'm working on what is now my CCE with the Club Managers Association, but also and once I wrap that up, which I'm actually going to be in Cornell in October to finish that part of my education up, I'm going to start on my master's professional with the PGA of America. So a lot of continuing education over my career, but that's led me to be able to help. We've got a great director of golf, Joe Schwint, here at St. Albans, and a pretty heavy staff of PGA members, and we're proud of what we're doing and how we're growing and the things we're able to help the club do.
Joe Schwint is one of my favorite human beings of all time. And your club is just spectacular. The 2 golf courses, the setting is idyllic. But so, Andy, when it comes to the Master Professional certification, that is super huge deal in the PGA of America world. There's only 300, I think there's only 357 of those folks throughout the entire system.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually have my CCM through the Club Managers, and there's about there may be 80 of us around the country now that are PGA members that also have the Club Manager certification. And I think once I have my CCE, there's less than 10, and I think there's only one other. I think Robin Shelton, who's at Newport Beach Country Club out in California, is the only master professional that has a CCM. So I'm trying to get through all of this. It'll be a maybe one of one in the entire country that'll have all these certifications. But a lot of it is, I turned 53 last month, and how do you keep yourself engaged and challenged and growing? And a lot of that education allows me to, I think, more effectively mentor and assist golf professionals coming up and have those conversations with them. Do you want to be a GM? Do you want to be a director of instruction? What are your goals and aspirations? What are the things that you think you want to do? And our career has branched into a lot of different segments of the business. Oh,
most definitely, Andy. I mean, the difference between being a club manager or going into the management side and a director of instruction are like night and day. I mean, that is not something you just walk from one room to the other and pick up easily.
No, yeah, far from it, and I've learned the hard way on a lot of those kind of different factors and situations that you have to deal with. But get a lot of questions from up and coming golf professionals, and so it's I think it makes it a lot more fun for me to be able to help mentor golf professionals in those situations. I mean, Gideon Traub, who was a head professional under me when I was at Forest Hills, is now up at Skokie in Chicago, but he took a job where he was going to own the golf shop, and he had never done that. Marvin Harad, who's over at Sunset now, and the assistants and the co-head professionals we have here, Zach and Kurt, and how you can help guide them into roles that they see are going to be fulfilling and fun for them to do.
This is the Gateway Spotlight, brought to you by the Gateway section of the PGA, and this is Andy Crow out at Country Club of St. Albans. Andy, keep doing what you're doing. I've heard nothing but great things out at St. Albans. I try to stay in touch with my buddy Joe, and I know you have Paul Montano, who's your director of instruction, who's also doing great stuff. Thanks for all you do for golf in this section, and good luck with these future certifications.
I appreciate it. You need to come out and play, and maybe we can throw Ozzy in, and you, me, Joe, and Ozzy can get out as a foursome and play a little golf. So it's not just all administrating.
That would be a great foursome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd have a lot of fun. You may have less than me.
I am proud to welcome the Gateway section of the PGA back to my show. Whether you're pulling into your favorite driving range, public golf course, or country club, there is an excellent chance that the staff there is part of the over 300 men and women PGA professionals at over 100 facilities that make up our Gateway section. I grew up watching so many of these fine men and women getting to the golf course at dawn, leaving at dusk, spending their entire day running events, giving lessons, and growing this great game. PGA Reach, Drive, Chip, and Putt, PGA Hope, and the fantastic PGA Junior League are a few of the examples of the programs run by these same PGA professionals. Go to gatewaypga.org to learn more, or to find your next PGA professional for your next lesson, go to pga.com. The Gateway PGA, growing the game we love. Well, we just wrapped up our second Ascension Charity Classic presented by Emerson at Norwood Hills. Guys, one of the highlights of the massive hospitality presence was our Veterans and First Responders viewing deck brought to you by Marcone. Final numbers are not in yet, but as of the Friday before the tournament, September 2nd, we had over 700 of our men, women, first responders, and firefighters apply for their complimentary tickets. Wow, what a great turnout. Thank you, Marcone, for all you do in our community. And by the way, the Marcone viewing deck idea is now being implemented at other tour events. Hey, this is Jay Delsing for SSM Health Physical Therapy. Our golf program has the same screening techniques and technology as the pros on the PGA Tour use. SSM Health Physical Therapy has the Titleist Performance Institute trained physical therapists that can perform the TPI screening on you, as well as use the K-Vest 3D motion capture system. Proper posture, alignment, etc. can help you keep your game right down the middle. We have 80 locations in the St. Louis area. Call 800-518-1626 or visit them on the web at ssmphysicaltherapy.com. Your therapy, our passion. Hey, welcome back. This is Golf with Jay Delsing. I'm Jay Delsing. I got John Perlis here with me, and we are headed to the front nine. And it's brought to you by the Ascension Charity Classic. We just wrapped it up 1 week ago today. Padraig Harrington made a bogey on the last hole, kind of leaked a little oil coming in, but played great golf. And we got a great champion, John. So we are headed to this Mike Claiborne interview. And Mike Claiborne is a great guy. He is a native St. Louis and had been here his whole life. He was an athlete, went to college, played a little football, got hurt, realized that he was interested in a little broadcasting, and the rest is kind of history. He has been with the who's who of people in and out of St. Louis, the athletes, the broadcasters, Jack Buck, Harry Carey, Bob Costas, you name it, Bob Ramsey. So let's go listen to this first half of the interview with our buddy Mike Claiborne. Claibs, thanks so much for joining me.
Jay, you know what? It's a pleasure for me, you and I, to sit down and do this. We've been talking about it. We have so many things in common, so many mutual friends, and for us to sit down here and chew the fat today, I'm really looking forward to it.
Claibs, we grew up so similarly. Take us back to the way you grew up. I know you played multiple sports at DeAndre, but take us back to what family life was like for you as a little guy here in the Lou.
Man, I had a great setup, man. My parents were terrific. My dad was in law enforcement. My mother was she was a nurse out of nursing school, and then she worked for a company who provided prenatal care to young women. And so she was kind of over those programs. She was always trying to find some community involved, just trying to help people. And so between the two of them, I had a ball. And my dad was also involved in a group. They used to promote concerts in St. Louis. And any major concert that came to St. Louis, it was a Kiel Auditorium, they normally had their fingerprints on it. And eventually Steve Shankman got involved, and he took it to another level. So between entertainment and just sports, I was having the time of my life, man.
Oh, Claves, it's something. So tell us a little bit about your sporting life. So you played a bunch of different sports in high school.
Yeah, you know, back then, I think you were almost, you know, it was like an unwritten rule that you were going to play because you couldn't stay home. You know, my dad was like, look, you got to find something to do legal. So I suggest a sport because you're not going to stay here and watch cartoons and sit around the house. If you want to, we can find some work for you to do. But yeah, you know, whatever the season was, you know, I was playing it. And, you know, in some cases I was playing two of them. But It was, I think, Jay, for me, um, I always wanted to play something. And I realized that maybe I may not have the size or the skill to be a pro. So let me find something else to do. So I was kind of enamored with broadcasting and listening to Harry Carey and Jack Buck and Mike Shannon and people like that. But yeah, I played everything, man. Basketball, football, baseball, hockey, you name it. I was out there trying, having a good time doing it.
You know what, Claves? We see this all the time nowadays where these good athletes are forced to choose, and I just think it's a giant miss. Man, like you said, the leaves started changing. The football came out. The basketball was always around. Our baseball gloves were always there, too, and we had hockey sticks going there, too. Everything was available.
Yeah, it was. And, your parents knew where you were every day. The same crew that you ran with in football season was probably on the basketball team sitting at the end of the bench giving up fouls. You had some guys who were playing baseball or track. So, I mean, and it was your same crew. And the ironic thing for me, I still run with some of those guys. I still have friends from the second grade that I still hang out with. And I really think that that's something that's missing in our society where, as you mentioned, it's almost required where you have to play a sport 13 months out of the year. And if you don't, then there's some sort of unofficial punishment where you don't play. I don't know where we missed the boat on that, but I really think it's done a disservice. And it's amazing. And you run across a lot of athletes who all tell you when they play more than one sport. I mean, at some point, you listen to Adam Wainwright, I think Adam Wainwright probably would have been a decathlete. As many sports as he played, from soccer to football to basketball and golf and obviously baseball, that's something that's lost in our society. And I wish we could get it back. But I think the problem we have now, Jay, is these travel teams, select teams, whatever you want to call it, where a parent has to write out a big check so his kid can be on a team. And they travel a little bit somewhere. And if you don't write out the check, then you don't play unless you're a really gifted player and they find a way to take care of you. But, I just think we're missing it, man, because I just think that there's just so much fun and so much you can learn about people that makes it special.
Oh, Claves, the lessons that the games have taught me and you, and it just goes on and on. The great Jack Nicklaus was at the Ascension Charity Classic luncheon last year, and he said exactly what you just said. We are missing the boat as a society with what we're doing with our kids in sport.
Well, I had two daughters, and I was that parent who I didn't have much to say to coaches because I figured their job was hard enough without some guy like me walking up to them. But they found a couple sports to play, and I'll never forget, my kid was playing basketball in Incarnate Word, and they won a state championship. And she said, that's it for me. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, I want to try something else. And the very next year, she had a golf club in her hand and played her senior year of high school in golf and had a ball. And one of the things we still do when she's in town, or when she and her sister were growing up at the same time, when I was off on a Sunday, we go over to Norwood Hills and play 9 holes, go back and eat, and that way I could listen about what's going on in their world. And I miss it because they're both adults and they both live out of town. But it's those little bonding moments that you have that you really cherish once they get out of the house and out of your pocket.
Oh, Claves, and you can absolutely still use that little bit of golf that she played in her business. I know that your daughters are very successful, and I'm sure they do that because that's a little bit of what my daughters are doing.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing. They don't have to be ready to go out on the tour as long as they can have some fun with it. And you know what? Like any other sport, put a little effort into it, put a little work into it. And that way, I guarantee, if you work hard at having fun, I guarantee you will be successful, and you'll feel like I want to come back and do this again. So in their case, it's something that I'm happy about because they played more than one sport. They had multiple friends that they still are in touch with today, and I didn't have many rules about sports other than show up and play hard, don't cheat your teammates, and if you do those things, you'll have a good time.
There's so much to be said just in that small. We could unpack that for hours, but I love that. So Cleves, you went down to Fisk University down in Nashville. What was that like? Because I know you kind of started your broadcasting down in college a little bit.
Well, so I started at Tennessee State, and we had a coach named John Merritt. God rest his soul. I had a pretty good freshman year, and he said, well, how you think you did this year? I said, well, I learned a lot. Looking forward to next year. He said, yeah, that's what I want to talk to you about. He said, I got some kids coming in from an area I recruit in Georgia, and I just don't know how much playing time you're going to get because I got to make sure these kids play. And I understood. He said, however, there is a school right down the street that you can go down there and play, and you will be as good of a player as they're going to have. And he said, oh, by the way, they won a conference championship last year. And I said, okay. He said, oh, I forgot to tell you, the ratio of women to men is like 8-1. And I'm like, where do you sign up at?
Send me over.
You know what, Jay, had he put that on the hook first, man, he didn't have to give me the whole spiel about playing football. All you got to do is meet one farmer's daughter, man, and you're good to go. So anyway, I went there, got hurt. And so the guy who ran the radio station, he said, we talk all the time. He said, man, you kind of really know the sports thing. He said, have you ever thought about getting into broadcasting? I said, no. He said, well, why don't you be the color analyst on our football games on the school station? And I was like, well, yeah, I know the plays, so I could probably help out on that. And that's what kind of bit me. And then I had like a regular sports show. Remember how Brent Musburger used to have that little 5-minute deal every day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of had something like that too, called Sports of All Sorts. And I did that and was having real fun with it, wrote for the school newspaper. And with every day that passed, there was one less day I was interested in playing anymore until they had hockey tryouts over at Vanderbilt. And I wanted to go over there and, see what I could do there. And I had fun with that. But the bottom line was I knew that I wanted to be involved in sports, and it wasn't going to be on the playing surface. I wanted to do something else. And so one thing led to another. When I got out of school, I came back to St. Louis and was writing for the St. Louis American. And Jim Holder, great friend, he and I were talking one day at a football Cardinal practice. And we were just talking. So about a couple of months later, I called him about a schedule or something. He said, hey, how'd you like to come on Sports Open Line? I was like, well, let me think. Yeah, I can do that. So that's how I started. It was February 12th. I believe it was February 12th, 1981 was the first time I was ever on. And the rest has just been fun, man. And did that for 10 years. Went and started the All Sports Station with Bob Ramsey and Rick Wallace. And we had that run the first time with Rich Gray. So when that station went away, Rammer and I went over to, I think it was WRTH at the time. Well, we convinced them that we could do a show, and they changed the call letters, went all sports, and did that up until 2006. And went with the Cardinals and been there ever since. And so it's been fun, man. I don't have any regrets about anything I've done in this business. I've covered every major event. I met every great athlete in various sports, and just enjoyed myself, man. Represented athletes for a while and had fun with that. Had a couple of first-round draft choices. And, it's nothing more fun than when your guy is in the Super Bowl or your guy's in the NBA Finals. Because you share with them, you're rooting for them. So, yeah, Jay, it's been terrific. And this game of golf that I'm in, so let me tell you this story. So I had a roommate. His name was Ike Jones. He's about 6'6", 220 pounds, built like a V, all right, big square shoulders. And Jay, he could crush it, all right. He was the first African-American All-American in Division III. And I mean, he could play, and he ended up playing as a career. He worked for Exxon when he got out of school because he couldn't get a sponsor to go on the tour, and kind of hustled his way through Exxon and got some dealerships out of it because he played golf with a guy who was a really good player at the University of Texas. And he set him up. There's no doubt about it. He had him up by 2 on front 9 and then wanted to press, and one thing led to another. So he was the first guy that took me out, and I had no idea what I was doing. And but I stayed with it. And then Dan Reardon, who you would know really well, Dan Reardon and I were doing UMSL basketball, and he started to talk to me about golf. So I went out a couple of times with him, and one thing led to another. And I'm saying, all right, I want to join one of these country clubs. And Jay Randolph Sr. said, "You really sure you want to do it?" I said, "Yep." And so I ended up joining Glen Echo, and I was there for a few years. Great people over there. And then as time went on, I found my way down at Norwood Hills because I think I knew more people there. And, you didn't need a tee time. Just walked over there and started playing. And it's been great for me. I just had so much fun with it, played some of the best courses in the world. And fortunately, baseball can take you into different cities where you can do that. So it's been fun.
This is Golf with Jay Delsing, and I'm visiting with Missouri Hall of Famer Mike Claiborne. Claibs, one of the things I want to kind of walk back a little bit is that some of the folks in your life, you mentioned Bob Ramsey, the great Bob Ramsey, he's just an icon here in town. You were hanging around with Jack Buck. You mentioned Harry Carey and Mike Shannon as well. But Claibs, you have a wonderful style about you. There is something so disarming when you're doing an interview. It's more conversational. It's less like you're almost not interrogating someone. Talk to us a little bit about that, because every time I hear you, it just seems to come to mind.
Well, I appreciate you saying it. I've tried to get a feel for the room when it comes to interviewing people. And, some people have to take notes and they've got a series of questions they want to ask them. But I've always felt like if I was paying more attention to the notes, I wasn't paying attention to an answer. Where I could be interviewing a guy and I ask him a question. And he says, "Oh, yeah, Mike, by the way, I just robbed a bank." And I'd go on to the next question instead of going to, So I think that everybody has their own style, but I want it to be a conversation, not an interview. I want them to have a comfort level where if there is a tough question, challenging question, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be asked in a respectful manner. It's going to be asked in a manner where here's your opportunity to respond to something maybe you feel like you need to clear the air about, but it's never a gotcha moment, and I think sometimes we see people who want to get a rise out of somebody in a very awkward situation. I've been on both sides of this thing, and I just think you can get more out of people if they feel like there's a comfort level. Now, again, we may not agree, but at least you're going to have your chance to say what you have to say. And I've been fortunate enough to always interview people or talk to people in their moment of glory. They just come off a real high. That's like doing Star of the Game. I mean, I've never had a guy that was mad after they won a game and didn't want to talk. So I think it's environment, but you got to be able to read the room. I think being a better listener is better than being a talker. And if you do that, you'd be amazed at what you can get out of people once they feel like you're disarming and you're not out to, make their afternoon or night miserable.
Well, who would you say had the biggest influence? And that may be a very loaded question. It may not be fair to answer, because you were with some of the greats in our town.
It's a good question, and I think I've learned a lot from everybody. Jack Buck was very good with his time with me and talking to me, and he had a laid-back style. Bob Gibson was terrific working with him. Mike Shannon taught me a lot of things about A, how to have a good time, B, how to make sure people are comfortable, but also, don't take any guff off of them. It's not like I'm looking for a fist fight or anything, but hey, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. Don't do it. But we're not going to sit here and go to war over it. But I think Mike had a real impact as far as being a great friend and watching him raise his 6 kids. And somebody read Mike's most recent book, and Mike kind of describes all of his kids. And somewhere in that description of 6 kids, there's Mike Claiborne, where he talks about like one of his kids. And then he goes to his other kid, Aaron. So I was kind of like the next to last kid of his crew. And so his kids will even say, well, he's the 7th Shannon, And so just being around him and watching how he was with his kids, it really kind of gave me a foundation in how to deal with mine. And so I think Mike's had a great impact. Jack had a really good impact. Bob Ramsey, you mentioned him earlier. Rammer is one of my best friends. I'll tell you another guy, Jay Randolph Sr. and Jay Jr., they both have had a huge impact. Jay is one of the great ambassadors. I mean, you can ask Jay about a town. Hey, Jay, what about Coldwater, Arkansas? Yes, they got a great courses right off the highway and a great restaurant there. Maitre D's name is Al. Go in and tell him you know me, and maybe you can get a good table. I mean, he knew everybody, and I've kind of wavered in that direction. I think maybe because I'm getting old. But there's very few places where I can't go and I'm not going to know someone, or someone's not going to know me. And, when you travel as much as we do, you have those friends in those different cities that you look forward to seeing. And, they're still there waiting for you. And that's been the fun part of this. And I learned that from Mike as well, how you treat people. Everybody deserves to be treated fairly and have fun with them all. And so that's been fun. But yeah, there's been a lot of people who've had fingerprints on my development.
Claibs, the graciousness just pours out of you here. It's so interesting when you start thinking about some of the players that you've been hanging around. I know you're tight with Charles Barkley. I know you did so much with Bob Gibson. But when you did the shows at Mike Shannon's restaurant after the games, that was some of the best radio I've ever heard.
Well, I appreciate you saying it. It was some of the most fun I've ever had. And Mike knew so many people, and I knew people, and we could get them to come over. And, sometimes you didn't know what you were going to get. And the best example was Randy Johnson, who kind of had a terse relationship with the media, was not a fun guy to be around. So Mike met Randy because Randy Johnson wanted to meet Bob Gibson, and Mike had set it up where, Randy just wanted to talk to another great pitcher. So Mike said, hey, the next time you're in town, why don't you come on the show? He's like, yeah, okay. He said, I've never done it before, but it sounds like we could have some fun. So we do the show for about an hour, and the show's over with. He looks around, he says, that's all? That's it? Mike said, yeah. He said, man, I think I've been missing something. He said, I know it can't always be this way. And Mike said, no, it's not. But when you walk in these doors, it's going to be that way. And he couldn't have been a nicer person as he finished up his career. But we've had so many good people that were able to come on that show that, that you're going to laugh for one thing, Jay. There's no doubt you were going to laugh, but you also found a way that you were going to learn something about someone. And I developed a lot of good relationships with people because of that show, because we still see each other on the road or in their respective city. And now that Mike's not traveling, the first question they ask me is not how you doing, but how's Mike? And I just think it shows the impact that he's had on so many.
Claibs, he really has. And he brought such a down-to-earth storytelling, old school mentality to the game where it may not have been correct grammatically and it may not have even been in the English language, but you sure as hell knew what was going on the field.
Oh, there's no doubt. And, Mike didn't go to Syracuse to be a broadcaster or J school at Mizzou. This is a guy who came right off the field, worked in the ticket office for 1 year. And the next thing you know, he's behind the microphone. And I think the Jack Buck influence and Jack helping Mike along the way really formed him into being a very good broadcaster. And, it didn't hurt for Mike to work with John Rooney, who, in my opinion, is the most formatically sound broadcaster I've ever heard. And I work with him every night. And to watch his preparation and to see what he puts into making sure he gets it right is something I've truly enjoyed. And when John and Mike were working together, man, Mike would just sit back and just say, well, I don't have to worry about this guy. And he carried his water and Mike carried his, and it was a great combination.
All right, John, that's going to wrap up the first half of this interview, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back with the back nine and more from Mike Claiborne. This is Golf with Jay Delsing. Powers Insurance is a family-owned agency right here in St. Louis that specializes in providing personalized coverage for the client who has a lot going on. At Powers, they understand that you and your life do not fit in a simple box. So guess what? Neither should your insurance coverage. Go to powersinsurance.com or call 314-725-1414 and ask for Tim Davis. That's powersinsurance.com. I want to tell you about a family-owned and operated golf business that's been right here in St. Louis for over 40 years. I'm talking about Pro-Am Golf Center. That's right, Pro-Am Golf Center. I know you know the name, but I'm not sure you know what they really have to offer. They have everything a seasoned golfer like myself could need, all the way down to what a beginner would want. Pro-Am Golf Center has the lowest price in the area for custom club fitting. I just went and visited CJ. He is terrific. If you call them now, mention my name, Jay Delsing, you will receive a discount on that already low club fitting price. Their number is 314-647-8054. Ask for CJ, or you can visit them at proamgolfusa.com. That's proamgolfusa.com. After my knee replacement, I was able to swing the golf club again without any pain. SSM Health Physical Therapy guided me through the rehab process, and when I was ready, one of their specially trained KVS certified physical therapists put me on the 3D motion capture system. It was awesome. They evaluated my posture, alignment, and the efficiencies of my swing. They gave me golf-specific exercises to help make my swing more efficient and repeatable. Call 800-518-1626. Tell them Jay sent you for special pricing. Your therapy, our passion. Hey, welcome back. This is Golf with Jay Delsing. Pearlie's with me. I'm Jay. We're headed to the back nine that's brought to you by Pro-Am Golf. Pearlie, you just went and saw CJ. Guys, call CJ, 314-647-8054. Simplest message ever. John, how cool is CJ?
I just smile just thinking of him. He's like a skater, dude, crazy golf, techie, wild man, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I learned so much with being around him, and I don't know, it's also so new to me, but I'm very excited about what's going on.
Oh, I am too, and we're working on trying to expedite these clubs for you to get them in your hand. Can't wait. We're getting you an entirely new set, John, an entire new set. Not entirely.
You're supposed to get a new set every 12 to 15 years, aren't you?
But you're more on the 30 to 35 year plan. So we got to bump that up a little bit. So John, I wanted to give you a quick shot at your thoughts on the first half of the Mike Claiborne interview.
I just love the stories, how these guys get to where they are. And he's no difference for him. The fact that he played the sports from the early days, that you guys had that conversation. That he played different sports to hone his craft now. It was just a lot of fun to listen to him. You and him connected really well.
We're going to go right back to the second half of the Mike Claiborne interview. I hope you enjoy it. Claibs, where I want to go next is you're a man of color. We just had one of the coolest things that I've been able to be associated with the APGA, which is Advocate PGA event you hosted and you emceed at Glen Echo last week.
I enjoyed it immensely. To see these young guys that maybe one of them makes a tour one day, and maybe one of them comes back and plays in a tournament in St. Louis. But it's just great to see. And Jay, for people of color, this sport is fairly new. Okay, I mean, before Tiger, you had Lee Elder, and before Lee Elder, you had
Charlie Sifford.
Black guys. Charlie Sifford. But you had black guys who had to play in separate tournaments. And obviously, Tiger moved the needle, and we've seen so many people progress, not necessarily on the tour, but just as far as their interest in golf. And, when you think about the members, for instance, at Glen Echo, African-American members are there, and you see more and more guys participating, and whether they go out on a tour or whether they just want to hang out with their buds, they're obsessed with it. And that's been a great thing. And to see this thing come to fruition with a tournament in St. Louis at Glen Echo, the oldest course, private course west of the Mississippi, where I used to be a member, was really a good thing. And I'm looking forward to watching it grow. And to give you a good example, as I was saying, there's not a place I can't go where I'm not going to know anyone. So the guy who coordinates that tournament, he and I were standing there talking, and he said, well, I said, where else you guys go? He said, well, we're going to Bermuda. I said, well, I got a guy there I want you to meet. One of my oldest friends in life. He's been there for 25 years and, plays golf like 3 or 4 days a week. And so I've already connected those two. So he's got somewhere to hang out and somebody who knows the island. It's not that big, but that's the other thing I enjoy doing is networking people and putting people together. And you just be amazed at who you can run into that way.
You may work for the Cardinals now, man, but you're a life ambassador. And when I sat up there and listened to you do this at Glen Echo, and Darty Business Solutions was the presenting sponsor along with Ascension, and gosh, what those guys are doing for our community is just amazing. But you know what? Mike, I want to get your take on this, and it's not a universal statement, but for me, when I played and sport, I didn't see color. I just saw people. And when I see golf, I don't think of color. And when I watch and meet these young guys and realize that they have been limited, it pisses me off. And I want to make it a difference. And from your perspective, I'm sure it hasn't been that way. I'm sure you have a different take.
Well, but you know what, Jay, you have made a difference. I mean, just your interest in how you have carried yourself with people that don't look like you. I mean, you people mention your name in Norwood, and everybody brightens up when they hear your name because they know you've been just an outgoing person. And you're right, you haven't displayed that thing of being, well, I don't hang out with him because he doesn't look like me. You've been colorblind, and people appreciate that. But yeah, it was challenging. I remember when the PGA was here in '92. I was having an issue with a woman who was directing parking, and I had this parking pass that had me on this lot. And so I pull up, and so she's looking at the pass, holding it up under the light. I said, "Do we have a problem here?" She said, "You really shouldn't be here." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You know what I'm talking about." And so I was like, "Okay." I was at that point where I was like, if your husband or son was here, he'd get one right in the chops. I can't touch you, but they would pay the price for what you said. And you get mad, you get upset because you feel like, hey, look, I'm just out here trying to enjoy some golf. Now you want to play the color card here, and that's not right. But the bottom line is, I think we progressed a great deal, especially in St. Louis, and I think the Ascension tournament has done a lot, and what Nick Ragone has done, and all the people who work with it, it has certainly opened up a door that I don't think was really that common for people of color. And I think golf in St. Louis has come a lot further than people would ever be willing to admit because they didn't really have a base. Now, you're going to have some restricted clubs in St. Louis, okay? There's a good chance, there's a couple of courses. Even if I did win the Powerball, I probably wouldn't be I probably wouldn't be in the 19th hole having a cold one, all right? But with that said, there's so many other opportunities that have been presented by various clubs in St. Louis where they welcome it. And, and let's face it, some of these guys can play. And it's been fun to watch. And now we're starting to see younger kids play. My daughter was the first African-American to play in her conference. She went in Cardinals in high school. And think about that, and so nobody looked like her at the events. But you know what? She had been taught the lesson. Look, my dad once told me, he said, listen, man, you don't have that kind of time to hate somebody because they don't like you or they hate you. You're not on the planet that long. So why don't you try and find something else to do constructive and keep it moving? And I always felt that way. And I kind of convey that to my kids. Look, we don't have that kind of time. If you want to get pissed off or something, I can show you some other things to get pissed off other than this. There's a time and place for that, but not here. So, the watching in St. Louis now, I think golf is really taking some huge steps to be inclusive.
Powers Insurance is a family-owned agency right here in St. Louis that specializes in providing personalized coverage for the client who has a lot going on. At Powers, they understand that you and your life do not fit in a simple box. So guess what? Neither should your insurance coverage. Go to powersinsurance.com or call 314-725-1414 and ask for Tim Davis. That's powersinsurance.com. How would you like access to 90 holes of golf? Well, that's what happens when you join at Whitmore Country Club. You get access to the Missouri Bluffs, the Links of Dardenne, and the Golf Club of Wentzville. And guess what? No cart fees included in that deal. There's no food and beverage minimums. There's no assessments. They have a 24-hour fitness center, 2 large pool complexes, 3 tennis courts. Year-round social calendar includes holiday parties, picnics, date nights, live music. They even have a kids club for your children and much, much more. There's junior golf, junior tennis, and swim teams available. This is a family-friendly atmosphere, and they have a wonderful staff. If you get out there, you got to poke your head in the golf shop and say hello to my friend Bummer. He is a terrific guy, and he will help you with your game and show you around. And don't forget, there are golf leagues, skins games, members tournaments, and couples events available all year round. Visit WhitmoreGolf.com. That's WhitmoreGolf.com. Hey, we have just crowned our 2022 champion, and boy, what a champion he is. Padraig Harrington took away the Ascension Charity Classic trophy, and the three-time major winner also grabbed the $300,000 winner's first place check. We are already ramping up for our 2023 version on September 5th through 12th at Norwood Hills Country Club. The final numbers are still being calculated, but the real winners are our North County community and our associated charities. They are Marygrove, the Urban League, and the Boys and Girls Club of St. Louis. We hope to donate over $1 million to these folks this year. We don't want to leave out PGA Reach and the First Tee as well. Thank you, St. Louis, for all of your support and all you do to make this possible. Folks, are you in the market for some additional protection for your ride? You need to call my friends at Vehicle Assurance. Their number is 866-341-9255. Sherry Fain is the owner and president, and she and her team are committed to helping you with your unexpected auto repair bills. They are committed to finding the right protection for you, your budget, and your family. They only work with the top vehicle service providers in the country. Get the protection and the peace of mind you deserve. That's Vehicle Assurance, 866-341-9255 for a free quote. 866-341-9255. I've been looking for over 3 years for the perfect place to be the official 19th hole of the Golf with Jay Delsing show, and the search is over. Please welcome the Loading Dock to the show. What a great place it is. It is located at the confluence of the Mississippi and Illinois rivers in beautiful Grafton, Illinois. Their patio is killer with seating for over 800, and every weekend the Loading Dock has the area's best live music. There's no reservations required. They have overnight lodging available, and they also have an ice skating rink in the winter months. And don't forget about the super cool Riverside Flea Market, which happens the fourth weekend of each month from April through October. If you're into antiques and collectibles, you gotta check it out. The Grafton Ferry runs directly from St. Charles County to within steps of our parking lot. Go check out the Loading Dock and say hello to my buddy Peter Allen. He is a great guy, good golfer, and a lover of the game. Call 618-556-7951 or visit them on the web at graftonloadingdock.com for more information on their live music schedule, the Riverside Flea Market, and more. The Loading Dock, the new official 19th hole of the Golf with Jay Delsing show. Hey, welcome back. This is Golf with Jay Delsing. John is with me. I'm Jay. We're headed to the 19th hole. It's brought to you by the Loading Dock. Beautiful Grafton, Illinois, right where the Mississippi and the Illinois rivers meet. Get up there. Check out my buddy Peter Allen. He is a great guy. 618-556-7951. John, first, before we get to the Mike Claiborne interview, I got to tell all of our listeners on October 16th, you and I are going to be doing a live broadcast at Wild Crush on Sunday, October 16th from 3 to 4. And the first 10 people that come in, we're buying them a beer or a glass of wine or a cocktail, whatever they want.
Love it. I love it. It's a wonderful place. There'll be a lot of energy for us to do that, and that'll be a lot of fun.
And then what we're going to do after the show, Pearl will hang around, talk a little golf if people want to hang around and chit-chat. You'll give some lessons, maybe do a little stand-up. What else can you do, Pearl?
I can stand up.
Yeah, you can stand up. You can fall down. I've actually seen you fall down several times.
You haven't seen me fall down.
Yeah, so put that on your calendar, folks. October 16th, Wild Crush. The address is 13360 Clayton Road. Suite 105, 63131 is the zip. Come out and have one with us. Pearl and I are going to be there, and we're going to do this show from Wild Crush, so it is really going to be fun. John, Mike Claiborne is a wonderful storyteller, and his relaxed mannerisms, his style is so disarming. I I really admire him.
That must permeate throughout his life. I wish I could be one of those guys that can connect with just about anybody. And that's what this guy has done for himself, for his career, etc. Not just the kind of friends he's garnered through the years, but Jay, the mentors, the who's who of who's been able to influence him and who's he's been able to learn from. And beyond that, then still come up with his own style. He's not copying anybody. He's doing his thing, but he learned a lot. And I just love the respect that he showed for the people that he did learn from, and that appreciation. And boy, he seems to really enjoy what he does too, which is always just the icing on the top of the cake.
Right. It's amazing. What does our friend Jordan Peterson say? It's a privilege if you get to pursue something meaningful that you love.
Well, that's certainly the goal, and it would be a privilege because it's not that easy. It's an easy concept to maybe understand, but to actually accomplish it is pretty dang tough. And I'm sure there's tough days with Mike with the business. I don't think he's saying that there wasn't tough days. But overall, he's doing what he loves to do, and he's a people person, and he's tied all that in together. I love the stories about you talking about at Shannon's place after the games when the guys would sit down. That had to be a rip-roaring time. You brought me in there one time or two times before, and you talking about a lot of energy. Everybody wants to go and stand around that table.
Oh, my gosh. It was just electric in there. There's no question about it. All right, John, let's talk a little bit about Wentworth, a little bit about the LIV and the PGA Tour, the DP World, all of that. There was the Billy Horschel and the Poulter conversation that looked like a whole hell of a lot of nothing from a distance. It looked like it was something both guys have disarmed it. What's your take?
Who else would you think would get into it?
Oh, exactly.
If you sat there and said, okay, give us one LIV guy and one PGA guy that might go at it, we would have picked both of those 10-1 for sure. So I do appreciate that they have fire in their belly on things, whether we agree with them or not. And at the end of the day, it sounded like it was robust, but it was also fair and respectful. Nobody's throwing punches, nobody's screaming at the top of their lungs, that kind of stuff. You and I wouldn't have done either one of those things, but that's who those guys are. Hey, one thing we can't forget about this: how about the fact that it was a 3-day tournament with the passing of the Queen, and there's only three rounds? That's amazing. I mean, we can't relate to that. But, Jay, there was a couple of European players that were really surprised that the tournament went on at all. They thought they were going to cancel the whole tournament. And one or two of them apparently cleared out their lockers and were going home. That's how sure they were that this was going to shut down. So we might not be able to relate to all of it. But, man, quite a major occurrence in that part of the world.
7 decades.
Yeah, amazing.
I mean, and you talk about the people in the history of the world and world politics and geopolitics that this queen has been rubbing elbows with, had conversations with, sat down, had dinner with. I mean, from Churchill to Truman to you name it. I mean, we're talking about it. I was told when it happened, I asked one of the European players, I don't know if it was Langer, I saw him at the Ascension, and they said they figured it'd be canceled. They figured they'd just shut it all down because it's such a big deal. But let me ask you this. What was your take on Sergio Garcia only playing one round, withdrawn, and then flying across the Atlantic to go to the Alabama-Texas game?
He beats to his own drum, Jay. I'm a Sergio fan. It's one of those cases, like, I want to see him hit some golf balls. I really don't care about anything else relative to him. He has not been one of those guys that has carried the mantle very well. And I think that's a little bit unfortunate. But again, I think the way I try to see sports anyway is, for the most part, I want to watch them play their sport, maybe hear what they have to say about their sport, and then that's about it. We all have our choices. He made his choice, and just kind of move on. There were some phenomenal things in that event.
Pearl, thanks for joining me. It was fun, and we've got the start of the wraparound season going today. I think it's the Fortinet Championship in Napa. I think Max Homa is defending. It's going to be fun. Lots of golf to watch. And you and I will be right here next week, and we'll be talking about it. I got to tell you, when I reach out to these people and tell them they've won a dozen balls, you'd think I've given them $1 million. These people are so grateful. It's really fun.
That's awesome. It's a good program you got going with it.
All right, Pearl. Till next week. Hit 'em straight, St. Louis. Hey, do you like wine? Have you heard about the hottest new wine bar in St. Louis? It's called Wild Crush Wine Bar, and it's located in Town and Country on Clayton Road, just behind the Straubs. Have you ever experienced self-dispensing wine machines? Well, they are here. The only place in St. Louis and most of Missouri that you'll find them, and it's at Wild Crush. You can choose your size of pour, and Wild Crush will pour the freshest wine in the area for you. The organic argon gas system used at Wild Crush keeps this wine pristinely fresh for up to 60 days. So if you're tired of drinking wine that's been open for a few days, come into Wild Crush for the best and freshest wine selection in the area. Go to wildcrushstl.com and come have one with us.
Your favorite band's about to play a sold-out show. You got in.
Over here!
With a friend. And found a spot close enough to see the set list. They're definitely playing your song. When you're with Amex, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. American Express. Don't live life without it.